like I said, bullet through the head won't stop the debt.
No,
Take everything you got, cash it in.
it's not like it's these people have this idea. Well, the debt it just disappears. No, every taxpayer is now on the hook for whatever that debt is. Yeah, I don't know what it all is, but it's certainly billions of dollars. Yeah. You said close to $1 trillion. I don't know. I haven't seen a figure on it. It's a lot of money.
Well, some other folks putting in on Twitter. Donald Trump Jr. says this is the summer to get your kids outdoors, enjoy all of America that outdoors that America has to offer. Don't waste your money on overpriced BS and junk food at Disney World. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Murkowski, Collins, and Romney are a pro-pedophile. They just voted for the Supreme Court justice nominee.
Yeah, I'm not believing that whole thing. Don't even get me started on that.
Josh Hawley, out of Missouri, said, I just went to the Senate floor to try to pass a bill toughening sentences on child pornographers, and the Democrats blocked it again, calling the child porn crisis a, quote, conspiracy theory. And that tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, that's all conspiracy down there, all that crap that's going on in Disneyland or Disney World or whatever it is down there in Florida. This is not a conspiracy. It's active, and you got to watch your kids and be really careful where they are, what they're doing all the time. This isn't just hey, they're going out for a bicycle ride. You got to watch what they're doing all the time and who they're doing it with.
Kyle Rittenhouse, you remember him?
Oh, yeah.
He writes, let me get this straight. Joe Biden can turn a blind eye to the misconduct of his own son, but defames me for defending myself. The more I read, the more I shake my head.
Yeah, it is. It's terrible.
John Solomon again. Durham bombshell. FBI text shows Clinton lawyer lied to the bureau, prosecutors say.
Yeah, he did. They showed that. He actually wrote it out. It's in a text message or an email or something, and put the lie, in words on a piece of paper or on the screen. So, this isn't one of these deals where he can just walk away. Oh no, you are misinterpreting me or whatever. It's there in writing.
Twitter users urge Elon Musk to reinstate Donald Trump's account.
Yes, please. Yes, please. I would be the one greatest thing that you could do, because man, I just waiting to hear all the whining and crying about tweets from Trump. Oh, please, just do that. Oh my God.
Senator Marsha Blackburn says, since Title 42 is being terminated because COVID is over, why do we need to spend another $10 billion of your money on COVID relief or wear a mask on airplanes?
The hypocrisy of all this stuff is just amazing.
Matt Gaetz also says, breaking, General Milley just said in a House Armed Service meeting that inflation may go to 9 or 10%.
Oh, thank you.
I'd be surprised if it doesn't. The Bradford file, Mitt Romney should resign from the U.S. Senate and join The View.
Yeah, okay.
He fit in there perfect.
I'd buy that.
Papi Trumpo says if Disney wants to go woke, let Disney go broke then. You can spend your dollars elsewhere.
Well, apparently there are a lot of people canceling out on Disney. I don't know if that's true or how.
There are a lot of places, other places to go. They'll eventually drop their price so people will buy on again. But when you go there, the one thing you do notice, they are set up for lines, and long ones at that. Yeah. All right, coming up on the top of the hour. We'll have you all your latest news, sports, and weather in extended ZZ zone next hour.
We're tracking temperatures to reach the upper 70s and the lower 80s today. It's going to be a very warm one with above normal warmth surging in. A little bit breezy at times, and clouds will gradually decrease. Once we head into this evening, a few isolated showers possible across areas to the south that will lift towards the north throughout the night. Otherwise, not everyone will see rain. Overnight will fall into the upper 50s and the mid 60s with a better storm chance arriving on Thursday. I'm meteorologist Peter Sherwood in the Weather Center.
Broadcasting from the top of the North Carolina Sandhills, 97.3 FM, 104.1 FM, and 990 AM. WEEB, Southern Pines, Pinehurst, Aberdeen.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. It's something that then President Trump had warned of. Europe finds itself in a bind because of its heavy dependence on energy from Russia. The issue taking on an added sense of urgency now as the West looks to punish Moscow for its invasion of Ukraine.
Russia's the largest supplier of gas and oil to the EU. Germany depends on Russia for about half of its gas imports and a third of its oil. Reaching consensus on banning Russian coal imports is relatively easy, but the situation is much more complicated with oil and particularly gas. Ukraine says the vast sums the EU funnels to Russia daily for energy feeds Moscow's war machine, and that Ukrainians are paying for this with their lives. Many politicians fear cutting Russian oil and gas will hit their economies.
That's the BBC's Danny Aberhart. Fierce fighting now raging in eastern Ukraine as Russian forces look to take control of that part of the embattled country. In Oklahoma, lawmakers approve a near-total ban on abortion.
The measure would make performing an abortion, except to save the life of a pregnant woman in a medical emergency, a felony punishable by up to 10 years in prison and a fine of $100,000. The Oklahoma House voted 70-14 to send the bill, which passed the Senate last year, to Governor Kevin Stitt, a Republican who vowed in September to sign every piece of pro-life legislation that came on his desk.
Correspondent Bernie Bennett. Parts of the South and the Southeast could see more powerful storms later today.
The main severe weather threat especially includes parts of eastern Tennessee, parts of Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and even North Florida. And that part of the country, that region, could experience more tornadoes aside from damaging winds and hail.
Forecaster Jared Geyer at the National Weather Service Storm Prediction Center. Watching Wall Street, Dow futures down 234 points. NASDAQ futures off 216. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Tell me why Relief Factor is so successful in lowering or eliminating pain. I'm often asked that question. Pete and Seth Talbot, the father and son founders of Relief Factor, tell me they believe our bodies were designed to heal. The doctors who formulated Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, 100% drug-free ingredients that each help your body deal with inflammation. Order the 3-week quick start now. Discount it to only $19.95 to see if it will work for you too. Call 800-500-8384. ReliefFactor.com.
Angie's List is now Angie, your home for everything home. With Angie, you could cross your next project off your to-do list before this ad is over. Just tell us what you need, and we'll handle the rest, sending a top pro to get it done. Or browse reviews, compare quotes from pros, and connect instantly, all for free. For everything from routine maintenance to a dream remodel. Because however you want your project done, we'll get it done. Download the app or go to Angie.com. That's ANGI.com to get started.
Senate Republicans block a Democrat attempt to start debating a $10 billion COVID-related bill.
A day after Democratic and GOP bargainers reached agreement on providing the money for treatments, vaccine, and testing, a Democratic move to push the measure past a procedural hurdle failed 52-47. All 50 Republicans opposed the move, leaving Democrats 13 votes short of the 60 they needed to prevail. Republicans say they will only support the measure if Democrats agree to votes on an amendment preventing President Joe Biden from lifting Trump-era curbs on migrants entering the U.S. Biden and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer want Congress to approve the pandemic bill before lawmakers leave in days for a 2-week recess. Norman Hall, Washington.
Tightening the screws on Russia, President Biden later today expected to announce new U.S. sanctions on Moscow. News and analysis, townhall.com. The president ordering new national research into the condition known as long COVID.
At the President's direction, government agencies will take up the initiative building on research already underway at the National Institutes of Health. The White House also is urging support for patients dealing with the mysterious and debilitating condition. Long COVID symptoms can include brain fog, recurring shortness of breath, pain, and fatigue. It is roughly estimated to affect as many as 1 in 3 people who recover from COVID-19. Greg Clugston, Washington.
2 people are in the hospital. A suspected gunman is dead following an attack last night at a manufacturing plant in Anderson, South Carolina. Police say the shooter was reportedly a former employee of that facility, although there's been nothing on a motive for the attack. And again on Wall Street this hour, the Dow futures down 231 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
We're proud to be working with our local businesses for the greatest comeback of all time.
Come together.
With Talk 97.3 FM, 104.1 FM, and 990 AM. WEEB.
I'm Chief Leader Adams, and there are several reasons why I'm running for sheriff of Moore County. There are 4 Moore County citizens that I know of so far that have had their lives and livelihoods threatened by our sheriff, Ronnie Fields. He's told them he would use his power to destroy them if they did not grant him a favor. I cannot be more specific to protect their identities, but this behavior is inexcusable. What kind of sheriff would do this to a good citizen? These are no more than the actions of a common street thug, someone who thinks the rules are for thee but not for me. Our sheriff continues the 2-tier justice system in this county for himself and the Good Old Boys network within the sheriff's office. There is one set of laws for you and me, but the Good Old Boys don't have to follow many of these laws, at least in their heads. For example, there have been numerous law enforcement individuals that have been stopped for driving while impaired. Instead of being charged for their offense, they are allowed to get a ride home without consequences. I will dismantle the Good Old Boys network on day 1. Everyone in law enforcement will be held accountable for their actions. They will also be held to a higher standard, and they will set the example we all should follow. I'm Steve Leader Adams. I'm running for sheriff, and I'll have a lot more to share with you shortly. Paid for by Adams for Sheriff.
My name is Tony Keith of Keith Hardware in Carthage, North Carolina. I'm the 3rd generation of a family-owned business. We've been in business for 83 years. We sell live bait, crickets, minnows, and worms, fishing tackle, nuts and bolts and screws by the piece. You can still come in and get nails weighed out by the pound, or 1s or 2s, however you'd like.
The guys, they know what they're doing. You don't have to ask for service. You tell them what you need. If they ain't got it, usually they can conjure it up.
Keith Hardware has been a tradition in this town for as long as I've been in business, 42 years. And they run a good business and they're good people.
I came in with 2 pieces of plumbing. I handed it to this guy, and he took off the back and picked it up and brought it back. Their knowledge is invaluable to me.
With Keith Hardware for 28 years. I rent the building from them next door. And Tony and Ginger are doing an excellent job. I'm proud of them.
Come visit Keith Hardware today at 207 Monroe Street in Carthage.
We're just an old-fashioned hardware store.
Aaron Cooper here with Cooper Ford. To say the past year and a half has been tough is an understatement. And it's during these times that we truly value the community in which we all live in. At Cooper Ford, we continue to do all we can to pour support back into the community, because taking care of each other is what it's all about. And that's why we won't have any market adjustment stickers or any of our new Fords like so many other dealers. We believe in fair and honest pricing and have from day 1. So please come see us here in beautiful Carthage or visit us on the web at cooperford.net.
Cooper Ford, working hard to be your hometown dealer.
The best in-store service, unbeatable prices, locally owned. This is Catherine Phelps. Joe and I are the new owners of your local Sears hometown store, where creating relationships and helping our customer make an informed buying decision is our business. The month of April, all home appliances are up to 30% off, an extra discount with your Sears card, or 12 months, no interest. Shop your locally owned Sears hometown store in the Town and Country Shopping Center, Aberdeen.
My mom's home is 9 rooms and 56 years of memories. Everything that's important to her happened under this roof. She's slowed down a little and needs help. Nothing too difficult, just a hand with everyday chores. Someone to look after her when I can't. My mom loves her home. There's no place she'd rather be.
If your mom wants to stay in her home, call me, Bob Bonville at Griswold Home Care of Pinehurst, 910-420-2360. That's 910-420-2360. We've been keeping the heart at home since 1982.
Did you know 80% of Americans think pre-planned funeral arrangements are a good idea? At Pines Funerals, we encourage our community to have a plan in place to take care of those you love so that your final wishes are observed. Call 910-947-2224 or visit us at pinesfunerals.com today to request free planning information and see why more families prefer Pines. Pines Funerals, in association with Fry and Prickett, Kennedy, and Powell Funeral Homes, serving Carthage, Robbins, Southern Pines, and surrounding communities.
NCN News, I'm Mike Riley. A new report shows more needs to be done to reduce greenhouse emissions to limit global warming. That according to an intergovernmental panel on climate change report. State climatologist Kathy Dello told WITN.
Having these disasters piling on top of each other, and people can only handle so much.
Severe storms battered parts of the South on Tuesday. This man lives in Bryan County, Georgia, about 30 miles from Savannah, where tornadoes swept through, killing one woman in her mobile home.
I have never in my life seen a tornado.
Franklin County authorities are looking for a man who shot his next-door neighbors on Tuesday. Authorities are looking for Todd Richardson Rogers. A man, Michael Evans, who rents a room in the suspect's home, tells ABC 11 he heard the shots
I was
fired.
ready to take a shower and I heard pow, 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 and I'm like, no way. I thought kids were just popping firecrackers, and then I'm like, oh, I've seen Jacob and Jason and Ben turn running, and I'm like, oh my God, I knew what he'd done.
On Tuesday, an NC Court of Appeals judge ruled in favor of the city of Asheville regarding a lawsuit challenging the city's removal of the Vance Monument. The 75-foot obelisk honoring Confederate military officer and former Governor Zebulon Vance was removed in 2021. H. Edward Phillips III, a Tennessee-based attorney representing the historical group challenging the monument's removal, told WLOS.
We, at the end of the day, have a case and a claim that's cognizable. An appeal seems to be a logical step.
A second booster shot provides only short-term protection, according to a new large study in Israel. CBS News correspondent Linda Grodstein reports from Jerusalem.
The study found that a second booster shot does protect against death, and it helps against infection, at least in the short term. But that protection wanes after 4 weeks and almost completely disappears after 8 weeks.
You're listening to NCN News.
If you pay your city or town for electricity, you live in a public power community. Public power communities provide electricity to families and businesses from a locally owned and operated system. Public power systems are not-for-profit and provide electricity at affordable rates with unbeaten reliability. Your local public power provider invests in your community, providing local jobs and supporting your local economy. Electricities of North Carolina is the energy behind public power. Learn more at electricities.com.
Science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM, is an important part of instruction in North Carolina, but not all schools can provide it. NC Green Power is a nonprofit promoting STEM education through its Solar Plus Schools grant program. Donations to the program help provide training for teachers and hands-on activities for students. Plus, schools save on energy costs with an educational solar array. Help students by supporting Solar Plus Schools today. Visit ncgreenpower.org. Learn more and donate to benefit STEM education. ncgreenpower.org.
New signs of the cruelty and terror of Russia's war on Ukraine. In a suburb of Kyiv, entire apartment blocks were destroyed and hundreds are feared dead. CBS's Holly Williams has that.
The cruelty of Russian troops in Bucha, the inhumanity of what they inflicted on civilians, is painful to look at. But Ukrainian investigators can't turn away. Instead, they're documenting it, including these charred corpses, because Russia's been accused of war crimes.
That house, you can see maybe 3, and that house, it's maybe 1 body.
Ukraine's Interior Minister Denis Monastyrsky has this message for Vladimir Putin.
Go to hell.
Some people with diabetes may see cheaper prices for insulin by next year. A bill is making its way through Congress, just passed by the House on Thursday, which should cap insulin prices at $35 per month. ECU student and type 1 diabetic Victoria Hanna told WCTI.
I couldn't explain how happy I was when I first saw it start to come to light a little bit.
More than 77,000 commercial birds across North Carolina have been affected by the high-path avian influenza or bird flu. Test results are pending at 3 other Wayne County locations that could affect nearly 300,000 birds. The Pope takes a stance on the Russian war in Ukraine.
Kissing and holding up a stained Ukrainian flag brought to the Vatican from the town of Bucha, the scene of the latest massacre by Russian forces, Pope Francis called for a stop to the war and an end to death and destruction. Earlier in his general audience, the Pope said, "In the war in Ukraine, we are witnessing the impotency of the United Nations." Rome.
Mike Rayleigh, NCN News.
We're tracking pleasant conditions for the first half of the day. Afternoon highs will be very warm. We'll head into the upper 70s and the lower 80s. Tonight, we'll fall into the upper 50s and the mid-60s. A few isolated showers and thunderstorms will be possible, but the better chance will arrive tomorrow with a cold front. Afternoon showers and thunderstorms will best set up across some of those areas to the east. Highs will be in the upper 60s and lower 80s. I'm meteorologist Peter Sherwood in the Weather Center.
Right now here in the Sand Hills area, it's partly cloudy, 60 degrees, humidity 94%, 2.58, pressure is 3017, solar radiation 31 watts per square meter, and winds are calm, gusting to 1. It is 8:14. Let's take a look at your Sand Hills news for this Wednesday morning. The new Urgent Vet for Pets opened its doors on April 5th for cats and dogs of the Sand Hills in need of immediate emergency veterinary care. The goal of Urgent Vets for Pets is to provide walk-in urgent veterinary care, including non-life-threatening emergencies, when a patient's regular veterinarian is unavailable. The entirety of the staff, Dr. Liapolo included, takes great pride in being locally owned and operated. In addition to Urgent Vets for Pets, Dr. Liapolo also owns Pinehurst Animal Hospital, making him readily familiar with many of the pets and pet owners alike within the Sand Hills community. The Southern Pines Clinic is located on Highway 15501 and Commerce Avenue near Walmart. And Sand Hills Classical Christian School prepared 10,000 meals in a 3-hour period on April 1st for the hungry. Students packed meals of dehydrated vegetables and soy, sealed them in plastic, and then hydrated each meal, which fed 6. The school partnered with Raleigh's division of Rise Against Hunger organization. Students held fundraisers in the Pinehurst, Sand Hills, and Southern Pines Rotary Clubs contributed to the 3,500 food initiative. The head of the school, Dale Cook, said he has worked with Rise Against Hunger for over 10 years, packing over 1 million and meals, beginning when he was with Cary Christian School. That's your WEEB local news this morning from the Sand Hills Sentinel. And, of course, you can go online to sandhillsentinel.com for more information. It's 8:17. Sports is next, right here on Talk 97.3 FM, 104.1 FM, and 990 AM WEEB.
Your morning sports report is brought to you by Hughes Supply of Pinehurst. With over 50 years' experience, Hughes Supply can handle all your plumbing project needs from start to finish. Call 910-295-5541 or visit them online at HughesSupplyPinehurst.com.
NCN Sports, I'm Josh Zach. Hundreds of fans outside the Dean Smith Center on Tuesday welcomed home the Carolina Tar Heels men's basketball team as they returned from the NCAA Final Four in New Orleans after falling to Kansas in the national championship game on Monday night. The Heels' amazing season ending in heartbreak as the Jayhawks overcame a 16-point deficit to beat Carolina 72-69 and pull off the biggest comeback in national championship history. Yesterday also marked the one-year anniversary since the university announced Hubert Davis would succeed Roy Williams as the next men's basketball coach. He addressed the crowd.
As sad and disappointed I think all of us are, I'm I'm so proud of these kids. Everything that they can put out there on the floor for themselves, for this team, for this program, but for you guys. And I can't be more proud of a group of kids than these. All these guys here.
Davis has said he wanted North Carolina relevant again in the national championship conversation, and the team's run in the tournament caught a lot of eyes. Monday's national championship game was the most viewed title game on cable TV, which averaged 18.1 million viewers on TBS, TNT, and True TV. It was a 4% increase over last year's game on CBS between Baylor and Gonzaga. On the pro court, Tyler Herro had 35 points off the bench, and the Miami Heat moved closer to clinching the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs with a 144-115 win over the Hornets. Miami winning its 5th straight and posting the second highest point total in franchise history. Charlotte, meanwhile, it's the 2nd straight game that they allowed 144 points. Head coach James Borrego.
And that's why they're a title contender. They're top in the East. They're a heck of a group, so give them credit, and good test for us. You know, after 3, it was a 5-point game.
Miles Bridges led the Hornets with 29. This is NCN Sports.
You never know what is going on in someone else's family. You don't know the health of their parents, their family members, their grandparents.
It would be very difficult for me to be vaccinated and for my child not to have that same protection. So it's time for all parents to have that conversation with their pediatricians.
Vaccines are an important part of the puzzle, and we can get back to making sure that their childhood is not a pandemic, but just normal and fun and happy.
Kids have a spot
to take their shot.
Visit myspot.nc.gov to schedule your child's COVID-19 vaccine today.
If you or someone you know has been the victim of a crime, the North Carolina Department of Public Safety Office of Victim Services is here to provide support. The office provides a range of free, confidential services to help you regain yourself, receive compensation for damages incurred, protect yourself and your family, and move beyond the stigma of being victimized. Visit ncdps.gov/4victims. That's ncdps.gov/4victims.
On the ice, former Hurricane Jeff Skinner scored one of the goals against his old team as he helped the Sabres to a 4-2 victory over Carolina last night in Buffalo. Same 2 teams play again tomorrow night in Raleigh. Tiger Woods says, for now anyway, he's planning to play this week in the Masters, a little more than a year after he nearly lost his leg in a car crash.
Hard to believe it's been 25 years since I won here, but it's great to be back and be able to feel the energy and the excitement of the patrons again. I hadn't seen them since, when I won, and obviously we had a COVID year, and I missed last year. So it was neat to feel that energy out there on the golf course yesterday, and hopefully this storm blows out of here, and we get to have a great week.
The 5-time champ at Augusta National made the announcement yesterday morning that he'll play 9 more practice holes today before making a decision on whether he will enter the tournament Thursday. Josh Zach, NCN Sports.
As our economy gradually reopens, remember to support local.
Know you're doing the right thing and stay proud.
Be a part of the greatest comeback of all time with Talk 97.3 FM, 104.1 FM, and 990 AM. WEEB.
Why should you work with the team at J. Park Carolina Living Realty? Good question. Hi, I'm Katie with J. Park Carolina Living Realty. We offer better solutions to get things solved. Sellers, we can give you a cash offer today with no showings required. Buyers, let us find that dream home for you so you can get off the multiple offer merry-go-round. We've got the magic wand to make these things happen. Text or call us to solve your real estate needs. 910-585-6979. That's 910-585-6979. Talk to you soon.
Hi, this is Rodney Swarms with Plumbing Night. We know that plumbing emergencies can happen at any time. In fact, they seem to happen at the most inconvenient times. And then inviting an unknown plumber into your home, that can add to the stress of the situation. The Plumbing Night wants to alleviate any stress about inviting a technician into your home by guaranteeing that we have not only the very best plumbers, but also the most knowledgeable plumbers. Before any of our employees are hired, all of the employees must undergo drug testing and a thorough background check. If they don't pass, they aren't hired. No exceptions. Once they're hired and part of the team, they receive continuous technical and customer training to ensure that they are the very best at their trade. This training is week after week, month after month, year after year. This training is what got us into community college to teach the plumbing trade. So the next time you have an emergency, call the Plumbing Night. They're known for extraordinary service and integrity.
Call the Plumbing Night at 639-5555, day or night, or on the web at theplumbingnight.com.
Leith Honda Aberdeen is excited to announce the opening of our brand new showroom. We might have a new building, but the same great people are still here, providing exceptional service and 5-star reviews.
Great salespeople at Leith Honda Aberdeen. Very knowledgeable and no hard sell. Also one of the few dealers not to add an addendum or market price adjustment on new cars.
Expect 5-star service and attention at Leith Honda Aberdeen. It's easier here. Have a great day.
Hi, this is Rich Wagner from Whispering Pines. I'd been suffering with acute back and knee pain for many months, and after trying visits to the doctor, painkillers, and spinal injections with no relief, I went to see Dr. Wright at Wright Chiropractic in Seven Lakes. After the first visit, I noticed a lot of improvement, and I've continued to improve with each treatment. Thanks to Dr. Wright, I'm feeling much better than I have in a very long time. I was skeptical about chiropractic treatment at first, but it has truly given me my life back.
This is Dr. Wright. I can't guarantee I can fix every problem, but I will tell you honestly whether chiropractic can be of help for your particular issue. Living with pain is not always the only option. Doesn't it make sense to explore every avenue before resigning yourself to the limitations of pain? Call our office today to schedule a consultation and start living again. 673-2225.
New York Deli is a slice of the Big Apple in Pinehurst. Located in Olmsted Village, New York Deli offers authentic New York bagels and a full breakfast menu until 11 a.m. Looking for lunch? There are 33 signature sandwiches to choose from. New York-style pizza on Wednesdays and Fridays, and now offering Meatball Mondays. New York Deli is open weekdays from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit Moore County Takeout and Delivery Options Facebook page for our menu updates. Call 295-2264 for takeout, or have your order delivered via DoorDash, Grubhub, or Easy Bites.
I'm Chief Leader Adams, and there are several reasons why I'm running for sheriff of Moore County. There are 4 Moore County citizens that I know of so far that have had their lives and livelihoods threatened by our sheriff, Ronnie Fields. He's told them he would use his power to destroy them if they did not grant him a favor. I cannot be more specific to protect their identities, but this behavior is inexcusable. What kind of sheriff would do this to a good citizen? These are no more than the actions of a common street thug, someone who thinks the rules are for thee but not for me. Our sheriff continues the 2-tier justice system in this county for himself and the Good Old Boys network within the sheriff's office. There is one set of laws for you and me, but the Good Old Boys don't have to follow many of these laws, at least in their heads. For example, there have been numerous law enforcement individuals that have been stopped for driving while impaired. Instead of being charged for their offense, they are allowed to get a ride home without consequences. I will dismantle the Good Old Boys network on day one. Everyone in law enforcement will be held accountable for their actions. They will also be held to a higher standard, and they will set the example we all should follow. I'm Steve Leader Adams. I'm running for sheriff, and I'll have a lot more to share with you shortly. Paid for by Adams for Sheriff.
The greatest comeback of all time is underway. Remember to shop local businesses. A reminder from Talk 97.3 FM, 104.1 FM, and 990 AM. WEEB.
The Zumwalt Zone is proudly sponsored by Moore County Citizens for Freedom. Always looking out for you.
Hello, I'm John Zumwalt, and you're in the Zumwalt Zone. Little kids are laying in their beds right now while you listen to this. They're terrified because they don't know if they'll survive the night. And of course, I'm talking about Ukraine. These people have done nothing wrong. People who could not care less about world politics are being murdered in the most hideous ways. And now we're hearing about torture and mass rape. How was one madman able to orchestrate this? Did Putin just wake up one day and think, you know, I want to destroy children, old people, maternity hospitals, anyone I feel like destroying, because why? What do you think? Putin's an evil man, we all know that, but how is one man able to deceive so many into following him into mass murder? I can't help but think of Hitler. Putin's no different. As Americans, we can never let our guard down. We can never allow one person to trick us into evil, and yes, I do mean evil. The type of atrocities that are occurring in Ukraine are born of demons. How else do you explain it? America, we can never allow ourselves to forget that we are a Christian nation. That doesn't mean we do not tolerate other religions. It means that we, our country, follows Christian principles. It means that we do not turn our back on God. And then we can't forget that if we do, well, he'll turn his back on us. Please take a few seconds every time you think about it. Pray for Ukraine. I do. In the Zumwalt zone.
We're tracking temperatures to reach the upper 70s and the lower 80s today. It's going to be a very warm one with above normal warmth surging in. A little bit breezy at times, and clouds will gradually decrease. Once we head into this evening, a few isolated showers possible across areas to the south that will lift towards the north throughout the night. Otherwise, not everyone will see rain. Overnight will fall into the upper 50s and the mid 60s with a better storm chance arriving on Thursday. I'm meteorologist Peter Sherwood in the Weather Center.
And now, the Sandhills' #1 morning show. Mornings with the Leader Man. Here on Talk 97.3 FM, 104.1 FM, and 990 AM WEEB. And heard and seen around the world at Talk973.com.
The best part of waking up is waking up with us.
Hey, y'all. Do you know what today is?
April 6th is National Twinkie Day.
It is National Twinkie Day.
Hey, a Twinkie!
I want a Twinkie.
You cannot hurt a Twinkie.
That's a big Twinkie.
Twinkie.
Twinkies?
I brought you a Twinkie.
A Twinkie?
Well, how long would a Twinkie last?
Maybe I should eat the Twinkie.
I'm a Twinkie.
Yeah, he's a mystery wrapped in a Twinkie.
You did all this for a Twinkie?
Behold, the Twinkie.
It's showtime.
Hearts go astray, leaving her when they go. I went away just when you needed me so. Oh yeah, filled with regret, I come back begging you. Forget, where's the love we once knew? Open up your eyes, then you realize here I stand with my everlasting love. Need you by my side, girl, to be my bride. You'll never be denied. Everlasting love from the very start. Open up your heart, be a lasting part of everlasting love. Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Talk 97.3 FM, 104.1 FM, and 990 AM WEEB. Welcome back to the most listened to program in all of the Sandhills. It's time once again for Mornings with the Leader Man. I am Steve Leader Adams. And don't forget, of course, we're being heard and seen around the world on a live video stream. That's up and running right now at talk973.com or talk1041.com or WEEB990.com. Top middle of the page is where the link's located on your mobile device. You can get it with YouTube. Go to YouTube and put Mornings with the Leader Man in the search. Now, if you just want an audio stream, that's pretty easy. Just go to the upper right-hand corner of any one of our web pages and put in, click the icon in the upper right-hand corner that says On the Air, Listen Live. Click that once and you're listening that quick. Weather for us today here in the Sandhills area, it's going to be okay. Look for partly cloudy today, 81. Then tonight, more clouds and showers and thunderstorms roll in. Look for a low of 65. Then for Thursday, partly cloudy, still a chance of the showers and thunderstorms, high of 77. Tonight, Thursday night, partly cloudy, maybe an isolated shower lingering on, low of 50. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all sunshine, partly cloudy skies, 66 Friday, 59 Saturday, 64 Sunday, 75 Monday, and 79 Tuesday. Right now around the Sandhills, winds northwest at 2, pressure is 3008, solar radiation 44 watts per square meter, dew point 59, humidity 92%. We have sunny skies and 61 degrees currently here at Talk 97.3 FM, 104.1 FM, and 990 AM WEEB. All right, it is 8:33, 33 past the hour on this Wednesday morning. Time for an extended version of the Zumwalt Zone. John, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to remind everyone that Steve Adams makes his time available to candidates, and every Wednesday and Thursday you'll hear local and state and federal candidates. We speak to them on this radio station, and you get to know them. Gives you a chance to know the candidates a little better, and it's a wonderful service that Steve provides. I don't think you'll get it anywhere else. This morning, we're talking to David McClain. David is running for the Board of Commissioners, District 1. That's the chair that is occupied right now by Catherine Graham. Everyone knows Catherine. Catherine is retiring after a lot of service to this community. Before she was the county commissioner, she was a clerk of court, and it's always sad to see folks go, but it's time for, Catherine feels it's time for her to step down, and so we have a race for her seat. Good morning, David McClain.
Good morning. How are you, John?
Doing well. Take about a minute or so, if you would, and just tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, things like that.
Sure. Born and raised right here in Moore County. Grew up in Vass. My father was the mayor there in Vass for several terms, and he was the fire chief and was involved in the fire service right up until the day he passed away. He was fire chief of Vass and Circle V for well over 30, close to 40 years. I grew up in that town, grew up in that environment of community service. Went to Union Pines High School, met my high school sweetheart, married her 36 years ago. She too is from Moore County, and we have two sons that went to Union Pines and grew up right here in Moore County.
I noticed one of the things that you have listed, among many, is fiscal responsibility. That's something that's becoming more and more and more important to the citizens of Moore County. We often have people who claim that they're for fiscal responsibility, and then when we get them in office, we find out that either they're not or they don't know much about it. Tell us what that means to you, fiscal responsibility, please.
Sure. So my background is business. I am a businessman by nature. I was a manager for over 32 years. I recently retired. So my responsibility obviously was to manage a profit and loss statement. Now I know government is not profit and loss. They don't profit anything because they don't make anything. They spend our money. But at the same time, you've got to be able to budget and use the money wisely, hold people accountable to who you're giving that money to. And at the end of the day, if you do have what we'll term, quote, a profit, that's an excess that hopefully we can either allocate in a better area that is needed or end up in a tax reduction. To your point, John, in today's environment, with the economy the way it is, people don't need to be paying more taxes. They need to at least be held at the same level they are, or even possibly a decrease. People need that help.
Well, that kind of brings me, David, to one of the text questions I have for you from a listener. And I'm going to have to paraphrase it because I'm having a hard time reading my notes, but in essence it says, what are you going to do after taxes are inevitably, the questioner says, the inevitable increase of taxes? Are you going to still talk to us, or are you going to avoid us and refuse to come on the radio station and not allow people to talk to you and duck them every chance you get? First, part one of that question is the inevitable raise of taxes. Is that a fact that you believe in?
I don't. I don't necessarily know that it is inevitable. I've been looking at the budget, at numbers. Again, I'm a numbers person, a business guy, and I'm looking at it now, and we're in good shape in Moore County from a budget perspective. Where some of that money is allocated, we probably need to examine closer. But I don't necessarily agree, first of all, that a tax increase is necessary. I'd love to at least hold taxes where they are, or possibly decrease them. And I want to say up front, John, one thing that anybody that knows me will tell you is I'm always up front. I'm not ever going to tell you one thing and tell someone else something different. And if I can't do something, then I'm going to tell you that. Or if I commit to something, I'm going to do everything in my power to stand behind my word. I'm not going to duck anybody. I might not say what you want to hear, but at least at the end of the day, you'll respect me for being honest with you and being forthright. So as far as what we're going to do about taxes, that's where I stand. But at the end of the day, I can't sit here and tell you I'm going to raise, decrease, give a tax break or whatever. It's a board, right? So it takes majority. So my goal is to influence those other members, my partners, and let's see if we can't get that in the right direction.
Okay, part two of this question is this: accountability. You know, when there's not a single member of this board, the current board, with the exception, of course, of the newest member, who is also the oldest member, because he served before Nick Paserno. But I can't get not one single commissioner to come on this radio station and answer questions. We can get senators and congressmen and Supreme Court judges and Court of Appeals judges, but we cannot get a single commissioner to come on here and answer questions. I would like to get your assurance that no matter if you lower taxes, raise them, how bad things are going, and especially when things are going badly, will you commit to coming on this radio station and answering tough questions?
Yes, sir, I will.
Okay.
I have no problem with that.
All right, well, let's talk about, by the way, we're talking today with David McLean. He's running for the Board of Commissioners, District 1, currently occupied by Catherine Graham, who's leaving. Accountability. You know, when we attend these county commissioner meetings, or we watch them on video, and I tell you honestly, I am so glad so many times that I'm not sitting in those seats, because people parade by there and they're genuinely in need. I'll give you an example. Something like, for example, you'll see Habitat for Humanity or some of the other charitable organizations go by, and they are asking for a lot of money. And it's extremely difficult to turn these down. But David, some of these have to be turned down. Where do we end our line between charity and where do we kick in, hey, churches and people need to take care of this? And where do we draw that line of government does not do this? Or do we have a line? Do we just give to every single person that comes by? How do you plan to make that decision?
That's a tough question that I'm sure all the commissioners are challenged with. First of all, I don't think it is the taxpayer's responsibility to fund every organization that asks for money. But where that line is drawn, I think the way I look at things, John, is I'll go back to what I said earlier. The government doesn't make money. They don't produce a product. They don't sell a service. They don't have any money. Their money is your money and my money. So the way I would look at that is you're coming to me asking me to open my wallet and give you money. That's literally the way we have to look at it. So, you know, the government agencies that we have, if they provide the service, that's where our money needs to go, because there's already been some form of determination that that agency is needed. These other organizations, to your point, I think they're all great organizations. They're all valid. But they have other means, and to your point, they need to be looking at other ways of raising that money. It's Moore County nor any government should be a blank checkbook. It needs to be looked at as if how I'm spending my money. So if it's something I would contribute to, then maybe that's something I need to consider, but I've got to look at it as it's not just my wallet, it's John's wallet, and it's every other citizen in Moore County.
Well, David McLean, running for Board of Commissioners, District 1. Let's talk about what I believe to be probably the hottest topic in Moore County, and has been for a couple of years, and that's education. There are people who believe that we do not give nearly enough money to education. There are people who believe that we give way too much money to education. Where do we draw this line? Where do we draw the line on how much we fund education? I'm going to say one more thing, David. It's not as simple as it sounds, because once you sit in that seat and you have the school board, the superintendent, come before you and ask for more money, and then you have this orchestrated parade of parents and children who come by and tell these horrific stories about their child who was not doing well at all until they got 6 more counselors, and now they're doing well. And it makes you just feel terrible if you don't give them that money. Where do we draw the line? Is there a line that needs to be drawn in education? Is money always the answer?
Well, no, money is not always the answer. But again, we'll go back to accountability, fiscal responsibility. Approximately 50% of Moore County's budget goes towards education. The general fund right now is about 110 million. And 50% of that goes towards education between K through 12 and Sandhills. That is about 30% of Moore County Schools' budget. They get about 60% of their budget from the state, 10% from the federal. So we impact about 30% of their budget. But that budget has increased almost every year. If you look at their operating expenses, probably 7-8 years ago, they were about 25 million. Now it's up to 32 million. And we have the same number of kids in our school, enrolled in our school now that we did 10 years ago. So as a business person, the way I would look at that is looking at metrics, cost per student. Where are we spending our money? Now, I know we've got some new facilities and there's some things in there that affect that cost, but we need to be looking more at the budget that the school proposes, making sure it's for the right things, and then make the decision on where we approve or not. But at this point, I will tell you, I think we are doing very well towards what we contribute towards Moore County schools.
I have another text question, and by the way, I cannot possibly get to all the text questions that I have from listeners, and I appreciate very much when you do text these questions. But let me ask this one. Does he, that would be you, David,
Mm-hmm.
does he acknowledge that and you may not, honestly, you may not know a lot about these different boards because you're just kind of getting into this, but
that's right. Does
he acknowledge that our Board of Health is in dire need of overhaul and that it's the commissioner's responsibility to undo this derelict body? So let me keep that question in mind, and I will give you a part two of this. I actually applied to be on one of the boards, I don't know, 3-4 months ago. And I understand if they don't believe that I'm qualified to be on the board. I'm not going to have my feelings hurt about that. But, I never got a response. Even though there were 2 or 3 openings, I forget, I never got a response. I sent them an email, and the secretary of the board, I believe that's her title, wrote me back and said, yes, they do have your application. Never heard a word, not a word. The Board of Health is one that's extremely important, and especially in this time of COVID, and yet we can't. We don't seem to be able to get any movement on this. What are your thoughts on these types of things and these boards?
I do agree that the Board of Health, we do need to be looking at that and working on that. And what I know about it, John, is you're right. So let me take a step back just 1 second. I am new, obviously, to the world of politics. Being a businessman that just retired, I have not been involved in politics. Never really had any desire to. My desire to run for Moore County Commissioner comes from the way I grew up, seeing my family involved and giving back to the community. I myself was in the fire department for 8 or 10 years before I had to be more involved in my business. So when I retired, I wanted to give back. And when someone talked to me about Catherine retiring and kind of jokingly mentioned would I be interested in being a county commissioner, I initially laughed at it. And then I thought about it, and I thought, well, maybe this is the way that I can give back to Moore County. So you're right. There's a lot of those kind of issues that you're talking about that I'm not familiar with. But as a business person, I know that my skills, I have learned over the years to involve people that know more about the matter than I do. We all can't be subject matter experts on everything. So I've learned to get the experts involved, get their issues, get their opinions, and listen to all the opinions, and then you make a more educated decision that is best for the long run. So having said that, John, about the health department, what I am aware of as part of the Department of Health is I've spent a lot of time already trying to interview people and learn what the issues are in Moore County. One of my concerns is planned growth in Moore County. So I've talked to home builders and real estate people and those kind of things here in Moore County, and without fail, I hear a lot of concerns. I heard it at the last board meeting I attended about the inspections, sewer, septic permits, and those things. That is way, way behind. So that goes back to accountability, right? We need to be looking at How are those people dispatched? Is there a metric there for how many inspections an inspector is supposed to do per day? Are there other methods of getting it done? Do we need to hire more people? You know, we need to look at that in detail and get that problem resolved. That should be I'm not going to oversimplify it, but it should be something that we could solve pretty quickly, I would think. So I know that's one of those functions of the Department of Health, and that needs a lot of attention right now.
Well, you're kind of hitting on the subject that Maureen and I often talk about, in fact, mostly talk about on the John and Maureen show on Sundays. And that is the way that we do permits here, and the fact that it can take months and months and months and months just to get a simple perk test back. And it shouldn't be that way.
No.
And I think we all understand that. But the question to you is, I think you've answered it. We're looking for county commissioners, and so we're talking about county commissioners now, so I'll leave it at that, who do not mind talking to the department heads and saying, listen, why is it like this? Why does it take so long? And if they tell you, well, there's a perfectly good reason for it, and here's why, well, that's okay. But if not, we're looking for people who have the backbone, the guts, the heart to stand up and say, no, that is not going to work here. We want this to be better. And again, it's easy to sit here on the radio and tell us that you will be that guy with that backbone. But we often see people, once they sit in that chair, not always, but we often see people that sit in that chair and all of a sudden they fall apart and they just can't stand up. And again, I'm looking for not just a yes or no, but a real strong, hard assurance that, hey, buddy, I will vote my heart. I don't care. Or I'll vote the people's will,
right.
However one should word this.
Sure. Yeah.
But I am the guy who will not be intimidated, who will not be afraid, and who will indeed stand up and do what is right.
Listen, I'm not going to go into great detail about my past, but my experience, I was responsible for a large business unit, and I had over 1,000 employees under my responsibility. And I was the face to some very large customers in the U.S. I had to sit there and look at those customers, and you talk about applying pressure. You talked earlier about the school superintendent asking for money and those kind of things. You talk about applying pressure. You let a corporate COO or CEO look at you, and you're talking about big money and contracts on the line. I never sat in front of them and told them I could do something or I wouldn't do something and then turn around and do it differently. And I believe I can't go to bed at night if I don't vote my heart and vote for what I believe is right for the citizens of Moore County and what I think they want. And so I'm never going to not do that. I'm going to always be up front. The same thing, though, goes in reverse, John, is if somebody looks at me and tells me they're going to do something or they can't do something, I can respect that. But don't do that and then end up doing something different. I'm going to hold people accountable for that.
All right, talking to David McLean, running for Board of Commissioners, District 1. David, I want to go the other way now. We're looking for people who will serve us, a person with a servant's heart, the heart of a servant, and I want to make sure I get that completely straight. I've heard several times in the last couple of years, our persons who represent us at different areas complaining and griping about the time they have to spend and how much time they have to give up and how late they have to work in order to take care of us. Now, let me say, I get that. I understand it's a lot of work. It's hard. You make no money. It's very difficult. But, frankly, I don't want anybody whine about it. I mean, you run for this office, you get what you get. And you have to do the amount of work that it takes. Doesn't mean that I do not deeply appreciate it, because I do. But I've got no time for whining about it. Do you have that heart of a servant? And I truly mean that. That doesn't mean that you do anything and everything that we want you to do, because that is impossible. But a servant truly understands that, yes, I'm working for you, and I understand that, and I'll do the very best I can to serve the citizens of this county. Can you address that, please?
Sure. And you're right. It does take a tremendous amount of time. Before I decided to file, John, I sat down and talked to a couple of folks that I would consider leaders in this county, and they understand what this job entails. And they told me up front the amount of time it would take. And a funny little story, I went home and told my wife, I said, this individual told me it would be a good 15 to 20 hours a week easily. And I went home and told my wife, I said, I think he meant per month. But now that I've gotten involved, I'd see that he wasn't kidding. It's easily 15 to 20. Everybody wants a little bit of your time. That, for me, John, that's not a problem. I did a lot of soul searching, and I go back to what I tell you. If I commit to something, I'm going to do it. So I thought about that long and hard, and when I filed, as I said, I am retired. I do have that time. I have the luxury of that time available to me. And I honestly don't know how to do anything less than 100%. So if I'm going to get involved, I'm going to give it all it takes. But I will, a little editorial comment on that is, we need younger people involved in government. And that right there is a little bit of a challenge, right? I mean, how does a young person that's growing a family and a career decide they want to serve their county or community or whatever the case may be, when it does require it? And it literally does. You're right. It does require this amount of time. So it is a challenge. I think that it's opened my eyes as to why younger people don't want to get involved. But for me, it's something I'm more than willing to do. I know that, eyes wide open going into it.
All right. Well, David McClain, we're coming towards the end of our time. I'd like you to talk about some of the top issues in your mind, the things that you want to see change, and why you're running for commissioner.
Okay. One of the first and foremost for me is Moore County is growing at a rapid rate, and growth is good. Don't get me wrong. If you're not growing, you're dying. That's kind of the way I look at it. So as I said, I've been here my entire life. I've seen Moore County grow. What I remember back in the day, so to say, is so much different now, and it's for good. But I am concerned with how we're growing, and the fact of what I see is a solid zoning plan. I see these large housing developments popping up in the middle of the agricultural area in the countryside, and we need to come up with a solid plan and control that development, which needs to happen, but it should happen around the municipalities that have the infrastructure to begin with and can expand that infrastructure to support it. Growing out in the middle of, Union Church Road, for example, I'll just throw that out there. That's not a good, solid plan. It takes a lot of expense to support that, and you're not going to get the revenue back on housing to support that. So that's one of my issues is, let's continue to grow. Let's come up with a more solid development plan and have the growth in the right areas.
With just a little over a minute left, do you have another one you'd like to talk about?
Yes, sir. Support for the law enforcement and EMS. We've lost a lot of good deputies and emergency services people to other counties and other jobs. There's money in that budget we could allocate and improve their salaries and retain those areas. The third, I know we're running short on time. The third is development of business in northern Moore County. We got to look at the infrastructure in place there first. We got to get that in place to drive that growth.
All right. Well, David, we're going to be looking forward to seeing what you can do in North Moore, because we had a lot of pledges.
Right. I know.
And especially among candidates this time. Mm-hmm. So we're looking forward to seeing that. I'd like you to take just the very few seconds we have left. Tell people how they can get a hold of you. Do you have a Facebook site, a website?
I do have a Facebook site. It's a David McClain Campaign Committee. It's out there on Facebook. My email, DMcClain. That's DMCLEAN. Can't even spell my own name. DMCLEAN 0608 at Gmail. My phone is 919-770-7243.
Say that phone since you gave it out. Say it slowly one more time.
Yep, 919-770-7243. All
right, well, our guest has been David McClain. He's a candidate for Board of Commissioners in Moore County, District 1. And David, thank you for coming in and speaking to the people of Moore County, and thank you, Steve, for making this time available.
Yep, and I thank you guys. I thank you for the service you provide and allowing me to do this.
All right, and so it goes for this Wednesday. Have yourself a great, safe day. We'll see you back bright and early tomorrow for a Thumping Thursday. Until then, be sure to support the advertisers you hear on WEEB. They're local. They live here. They shop here. They just want your business here. That way, your money stays in our economy, rolls over and creates jobs for more people. And that's the way it should work. Instead of sending your money to Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and China when you shop at the Mega Mart. And don't forget also that millions of Americans have fought and they have died to give and protect the freedoms that you get to enjoy today. Live today worthy of their and their families' sacrifice. I'm Steve Leader Adamson, the Leader Man, and Nick and Colt the Dog will all see you at 2 o'clock this afternoon at the dog park.